Wow, imagine if a horseshoe crab has myopia, then the spectacle shot would be getting so rich. Okay, anyway, yes, horseshoe crab actually have 10 eyes altogether. These include the 2 top-out eyes over here, 2 behind, and then they also have 3 over here, 2 underneath, and a series of photoreceptors, or known as the light sensor, on the tail. Hi everyone, my name is Lekian from Young Nautilus. Have you ever wondered what are Singaporeans curious about each of our local animals? Welcome to this new series where we explore the top 5 questions asked during our nature walks. All educators in Young Nautilus can't wait to head outdoors and show you all the fascinating flora and fauna. So while we wait for a safer period before we can head outdoors again, I am here on your screen today to show you our cool Singapore animals instead. Shall we? Let's go! On this first episode of the series, we have a prehistoric animal for you. It's not the horse, it's not the shoe, and it's not the crab, but the horseshoe crab. And we have 2 species of horseshoe crab in Singapore, and we find the coastal horseshoe crab during Young Nautilus Chine Intertidal Walk, and the baby mangrove ones during Sungai Buloh Mangrove Walk. Before we discuss about top 5 curious questions asked about them, let's find a little bit more about these prehistoric animals. These creatures are known as the living fossil as they have not changed much since the prehistoric era. To be specific, they appear in the shallow seas during the Paleozoic era and also known as the age of visible life, together with other primitive arthropods called the trilobites. At the end of the Paleozoic era, also known as the Permian period, there was a mass extinction believed to be caused by a natural disaster, maybe a volcanic activity, and the trilobites became extinct. Lots of animals died, and the relatively empty new sea gave rise to newer, larger creatures like the dinosaurs. But hey, the horseshoe crab still survived. So next time if you have to praise a stubborn friend, a very determined person, you can call me or her a horseshoe crab. I mean, they can even regrow their lost limb. That's so crazy, right? So over here, we have the modes of our horseshoe crab. And don't worry there, we have not killed any horseshoe crab. These are the modes, or their shed skin, so that they can grow bigger just like snakes do. So now that we know a little bit more about this strong determined animal, let's come to our 5th favorite question asked. Are these a type of crab or stingray? Well, actually the answer is neither. Did you guess correctly? Although looking from the bottom, they do look like skinny crab, but from the top, they look like stingray, but with a thick armor and the tail. Horseshoe crab come from the subphylum Chelicerata, named after the tiny little pincers near their mouth, also known as the chelicera, which they use to pinch their food and put it in their mouth. There are also other creepy crawlers that belong to this group. Can you guess what kind of animals they are? And you may be surprised to find that there are also spiders, mites, and even the extinct sea scorpion. Okay? Although they look a bit different in terms of appearance to the horseshoe crab. Coming in 4th place, we have this question. Do horseshoe crab have eyes? Well, if you have been on a walk before and have seen a horseshoe crab with us, you might have noticed that they have 2 bitty parts on the shell, which are over here. And these 2 bitty parts, they are actually their eyes. But a horseshoe crab doesn't stop at just having 2 eyes. They actually have 10 eyes altogether. Wow! Imagine if a horseshoe crab has myopia, then the spectacle shot would be getting so rich. Okay, anyway, yes, horseshoe crab actually have 10 eyes altogether. These include the 2 top-out eyes over here, 2 behind, and then they also have 3 over here, 2 underneath, and a series of photoreceptors, or known as the light sensor, on the tail. So many eyes for what? Well, other than to find food, they can also find their mates very easily, like the boyfriends and the girlfriends. At night, these eyes become way more sensitive to the light, and this will allow them to find each other in murky water and in darkness. Well, these eyes over here, they can even sense the UV light from the sun and the reflected light from the moon. This will help them to follow the lunar cycle, which will help them to know their spawning period during the full moon and the new moon. It's like, wow, let's party under the moon right now! Aren't the horseshoe crab romantic lovers? Oh, you have seen the tail as well? And that will bring us to our 3rd frequent question, which is, are they venomous? A lot of people think that they are venomous because the tail actually looks like that of a stingray. And the tail is actually known as a tailson. Despite its dangerous appearance, the answer is no, they are actually not venomous. They can't sting you. Other than having the light sensors over here, they also use the tailson to flip themselves out right when they are in the upside down position, to push themselves back. This we often get this question often as well. So what does a horseshoe crab eat? Got mouth man? Well, the answer is yes, the horseshoe crab actually have mouth, but they are not picky eaters. They eat almost anything. But don't worry, they are not interested in eating you, even though they look like the alien face huggers. But anyway, they feed on the small crustaceans like little crabs, clams, worms, or even algae. Well, but they have no teeth, no mandibles, they have no dentures, so they have to use these tiny little legs to move all the way to the mouth for the food. But that would be unhygienic for humans.
Anyway they live for 12 years. Quite sure they don't.
Well, that's true. And the last pair is actually known as the Chelicera, the one that I mentioned earlier on. That's the small little pincers that we actually use to put the food into the mouth. Shall we take a look under the microscope? Okay. Okay, and let's come to our top Singaporeans' favorite question. Can it be eaten? Well, the answer is yes and no. There's not much meat on the horseshoe crab, but a lot of people and other animals like the shorebirds, they like to eat the roe. Not the roe, the roe, like the eggs. But it can be dangerous for humans, and there have been cases of like food poisonings and even death. So this is due to the possibility of something called the tetrodotoxin that's inside the horseshoe crab. Yes, the one that you find in pufferfish at certain times of the year. So I probably wouldn't try if I were you. Actually, horseshoe crab has a greater use for humans, which is not on the meat, not the eggs, but their blue blood. Wow, this will make them even seem more like the alien space hugger, right? But their blood is blue, not because they're alien, but they have something called the hemocyanin, which contains copper. Whereas for ourselves, our red blood contains something called the hemoglobins that contains iron. Their blood, when in contact with certain types of gram-negative bacteria, clots. And this will help us to test for the presence of all these bacteria. And this helps to save millions of people's lives. But are you thinking that it's a bit cruel for the animal though? If so, you may be upset to hear that in the past, people actually do the testing on rabbits by injecting the material into them. So, the discovery of the use of the horseshoe crab blood actually made the test less time-consuming and doesn't necessarily kill the animals. Oh well, yes, indeed a number of horseshoe crabs still die in the process lah. But still got hope! A lot of scientists like those in NUS, they have created a clone replacement of the blood so that we can aim to end the practice of horseshoe crab farming. Horseshoe crab are so important, but do you know that although they survive the volcanic activity, the mass extinction that kills off all the dinosaurs, today we are losing them due to human activity such as habitat loss and even abandoned fishing nets. So ending off with something for you to think about. So is any of these top 5 questions what you were curious about this ancient animal? So subscribe to our YouTube channel over here and give us a like and share so that your friends and families can know more about this amazing animal as well. See you in our next video. Bye!